2012. Several times in a recording made sometime between 1980 and 1982 perhaps, a French psychic told us the future, and it seems he was correct on most of his predictions. Most psychics are wrong more than they are right, some only slightly better than chance. I have captured each word that was translated, and I'm going to play them for you while I tell you some things about this man. I would like to draw your attention to a video made by someone who asked the French-speaking Californian psychic to give a reading. One might presume that the filmmaker bought some time and the psychic spoke about the future for a period of time because at the end he stands up abruptly and calls an end to the session. The first time I saw it, I thought he was disturbed by the visions he was getting of aliens destroying mankind in the year 2012. Lacerda warned us of a coming war between us and the hostile aliens and said it's the same group that our government made the deals with. If Lacerda is right, and if this French psychic is right, then the advanced species might do away with us like a colony of fire ants near their picnic table. Nobody in the universe will miss us because our leaders are warmongers, and they defy all warnings about using nuclear weapons. It seems that someone has an agenda to wipe us out. It seems that World War III is building to flashpoint with Iran. And if outsiders are in control of all of our media and using mind control, even hypnosis, as Andy Perro reports, then World War III is a given and the destruction of mankind is quite likely. Watch this series of cards to show the translations, and at the end, click on the link to see the actual footage of this video. And don't let anyone take the truth from you. Decide for yourself what is true. I'm going to discuss that here. If the filmmaker put 1980 on the video in error, forgive him. He could be off by a year or even two, but so what? That's not what's important here. We don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The psychic said he lived in France 20 years before coming to California, and he was known to locals in France as the psychic. He used to tell them of future events, but one day he told them about an event, and it happened. And as a result, he had to leave the country. He did not tell us any more, and some are claiming that an arrest was made later. Was he arrested because he predicted a murder? Nobody that I know has done the research and come back with anything on that. But it seems plausible to me that this would be one reason why he left France. Should we speculate? Let's look at the facts. Some point to his finger as it appears in two images. It looks like the finger was cut off and sewn back on, to me, and they use this as proof that it's the same person. His name is not on the video, but I attached the name Albert Florenti. I don't know his real name. There are two other names associated with him. Rather than confuse you, I'm just going to use Albert Florenti. I'll give you the link at the end of this video, but first let me tell you some things about this amazing film. Since the compact disc first came out in October of 1982, and since there appears to be a CD in the background, one might argue that this video was recorded after 1982, assuming that the CD proves that the video could not possibly have been made in 1980 as alleged. The year is not too important because the psychic speaks of future events. He sees a nuclear disaster in the USSR, and we have Chernobyl in the Ukraine in April of 1986. He predicts the breakup of the USSR into many countries and reports that some of those countries will be our allies after the breakup. He is certain in the video that the USSR does not exist anymore in the future. He speaks of wars over oil and the coming of electric cars. He sees the use of nuclear reactions to generate electricity and says there will be disasters and we will turn away from nuclear power. He says a black man will be president between 2005 and 2012 in the USA. Is he seeing his own perceptions, or is he seeing the truth about the future? If he's looking ahead and can see his own perceptions, he might perceive Obama as a black man. I don't. He says America will be attacked on American soil in the decade which follows the year 2000. The video is circulating on the internet at many sites. He said we'd have electric cars and that oil would go out and nuclear would come in, but not stay too long because there would be many accidents. If we have a pole shift, all the oceans in the world will be sloshing all over the place with the sudden jerk of the Earth's crust, and we will have Fukushimas all over the planet. What will be the effect of hundreds of nuclear disasters? It will wipe us out. He says that's not what wipes us out. It's the aliens that wipe us out, and it's all over for humans by 2012. He says he can't see past 2012, and maybe that's because 2012 is the year that he dies. Well, if he's seeing his perceptions of the future, and he has no more perceptions after 2012, then maybe that's correct. He appears to be about 40 in the video. He says he was 10 years old in 1950. If so, then he reaches age 72 in 2012. Dying at age 71 or 72 is quite normal, so maybe that's why he can't see beyond this year. Here's what's interesting about the video, and these observances are far too subtle for most everyone to pick up. If he was speaking from 1980, 81, 82, he would have the behavioral traits of someone from that era, not today's behavior, right? Watch as he's trying to say the word alien. He has a lot of difficulty with it. It's as if he's been conditioned not to say this taboo word. And when he finally gets it out, there's a clear reaction to the utterance of this terrible word. He is actually afraid to say aliens. In 1980, it was taboo to talk about little green men because the ridicule was brutal, and I think you can see this in the video. Electric cars are no surprise to us today, but he presents the news as if it's amazing that we will have electric cars in the future. Clearly, he is from a different time period, a time at which we do not speak freely about aliens, as we are doing today. So if anyone thinks this video is a fake, they missed that subtle clue. They are quick to say it's a fraud, because what appears to be a CD jacket did not come out until 1982. I don't see any proof that this is true. If they were in California first, long before they were in other places, this might explain this away, and the video could still be from 1980, as proclaimed by the one who first made this video available to us. Also, that which is identified as a CD jacket might not be what it appears to be, and we could have a case of mistaken identity. It's square and it's plastic. What could it be? When did we first have square plastic? Was there ever a product that came in square plastic? Is it possible the CD just used the same concept? I'm not ready to agree that what we see is a CD, because I'm not sure it's a CD, pegging the year to 1982 or later. Have we ever made this kind of mistake before? Of course. So don't let the naysayers prove anything with false identifications, extrapolations, erroneous conclusions, and flim-flam investigations. In order to inflate one's ego, a skeptic will sometimes introduce facts that aren't really facts. So you have to be very careful in your assessment and look closely at the details. Gather your own facts, or you'll be often misled by egoists. He says he's in California, and he's been in California for 20 years. If he was 10 in 1950 and the video is 1980, then he's 30 years older than 10, and that would make him about age 40 in this video. The man in the image could be 40 years old, I think. When you view something like this, you have to use your best tools to evaluate it. It's more important today than ever because you have subliminal messages in your television programs, and all your music and entertainment is loaded with messages to control you. You can't afford to allow yourself to be tricked by hypnotic devices and subliminal messages. You have to observe the subtleties and reach your own conclusions. When the psychic finally says the word aliens, he says, "There, I said it." He was noticeably relieved. Most people who see this film have no tools for determining if it's fake. They rely on others to do the work necessary and reach the conclusions based on sound reasoning. And for every person who has had the logic courses and knows about syllogisms, you have 10,000 who haven't. Those who've had the course reason better, and we all should take the logic course where syllogisms are discussed. It was definitely one of the easiest courses I took at UCLA. Organic chemistry is the one that killed me. So if you aced organic chemistry at UCLA, hats off to you. Those others have a desire to be important, to be the one who knows and leads others, and they will shoot down something that's real, calling it a fake, in order to achieve their goals of being the leader, the know-it-all. This is a very selfish act because it denies the rest of us the truth, and this kind of person is out there in large numbers. I have to remove comments from this type on my channel every day. I wish they would go away and stay away. What I want here on my channel are those who think clearly, have the logic courses, and know how to reason soundly. You as a reader or viewer have to be mindful that there are those who would steal the truth from you just so they can feel good about the effect that they have had on others. It makes them feel powerful, and it's their only source of power, fouling up the thinking of others. They destroy the truth in order to feel good. This is a character flaw, and it's a widespread disease of human beings. If aliens destroy us, it might be because we are deeply flawed. And this is just one example. I have pointed out before that one human being will betray the entire human race for a few dollars so he can buy a new car. If you live among those who would sell out the entire human race for a new car, how long will your civilization last? If you were looking at a colony of ants and they did this, would you get the insecticide? Does any species deserve to live when the leaders betray the entire species routinely? If mankind is wiped out, is the universe a better place? Are there fewer nuclear weapons and wars? Let me see you justify the actions of your leaders. They are not my leaders. I didn't vote for any of them. And by the way they fix elections, I'd say you didn't vote for them either. All of our leaders have betrayed us at every opportunity. Obama rammed through legislation that 70% of the people did not want. They did not want the government to take over the entire healthcare industry. And now the healthcare control bill is law. It gives government direct access to your veins, all your medicines, so they can poison you, make you ill, and kill you when you are no longer able to work and pay the IRS a third of your pay. When you are no longer able to drive and you can't pay the gasoline tax, they dispose of you like garbage so they can cheat you out of your Social Security. Obama isn't the only one. Eisenhower signed deals with aliens and allowed them to take women and children for various purposes, including eating children, experimenting on women for genetic purposes. And I've read stories of aliens cutting people open without anesthetic during their experimentation on us. Now, everyone considers Dwight Eisenhower a benign president, and this is what he did to us. Woodrow Wilson, the kind old college professor, wanted to become president, so he made a deal with the devil. He swapped passage of the Federal Reserve Bill for campaign financing, and he deeply regretted this. And we have been a slave to the Federal Reserve ever since. There are human beings right this minute in cages by the thousands in Dulce, New Mexico and Miami. And they are there because someone in government wanted alien technology, and they traded technology for people. Should mankind be wiped out? Those human beings in cages are being used as food and experimentation. And Andy Perro tells the story, and Thomas Costello tells the story. And they never knew each other. They told the same story independent of each other. I've seen the people in cages. I've seen pictures of it. But they are hard to come by today. Somebody has wiped those pictures out. These pictures are being controlled by somebody. The psychic in this video says that we will have an encounter with aliens, and there will be winners and losers, and we will be the losers. He says it's going to happen this year, 2012. He called it the year of the encounter. When debunkers kill the truth before you have a chance to evaluate it, it's a robbery, a crime against humanity. This video is important because it brings these cockroaches out of the woodwork to reveal their methods. Their damage is clear to those who understand what they do to our thought process. You always have to rely on the facts, not the conclusion of others, because their conclusions are not reliable. If their premises are false, then their conclusions are also false. That's logic. So do a syllogism and evaluate the premises upon which the conclusions are based. False premises lead to false conclusions. In this case, someone claims that the CDs were not commercially available until 1981. And I found 1982, October. And I don't really care whether the film was made in 1980, 81, or 82, or 83. Doesn't matter. But I think it's wrong for anyone to say, based on that information alone, that the video is fake. It could be made in 1983 and still be genuine, because all of the events he predicts are in the future, from a position of 1983. But those who can't reason well accept the conclusion of the debunkers, and the truth is denied all of those fools who fell for the trick. They're probably the same ones who still think that jet fuel melts steel, and that buildings collapse because planes flew into them, and they have no explanation for building number 7. No plane hit it. Is this video genuine if the date is wrong? 1980? What if CDs were distributed first in California and then the rest of the country in the months which followed? When they give a date of widespread distribution, October 1982, does that mean that there were never any pre-sales in certain segments of the country as a test? Of course not. They test a local area with a beta test, and then if everything goes well, the distribution is widened. You don't go to worldwide distribution until you have the bugs worked out. If less than 0.1% of the CDs are coming back defective, there's no bug to resolve. And then you go to widespread distribution, perhaps worldwide. How many times has your software been updated? Was it perfect the first time, or did they have conflicts and glitches that had to be worked out? Is the object behind the psychic a CD? That's question number one. If the blurry image can be confirmed to be a CD, then what's the next question? And after you get done, what do you have? He said we'd have a black president between 2005 and 2012. Was he right? If you believe the naysayers, then let's throw out this visionary who might tip us off about the destruction of mankind in the year 2012, just because he was one of the first ones to receive a CD from Advanced Sales. Is that what you want to do? You can't allow the thief to get away with robbing you of the truth by introducing this alleged fact, but how many people have the skills to examine the evidence and the facts presented by debunkers? This is why government was able to pull off the murder of 30,000 people on our own soil and destroy 3 buildings, which just happened to collapse into their own footprint and look identical to a controlled demolition. And steel was still red hot 9 months later, indicating the use of nuclear weapons and temperatures of 1,000,000 degrees. People don't know that it's impossible to melt steel with jet fuel. If any newspaper reporter were allowed to say that they better recall all those kerosene heaters because they are made of thin steel and jet fuel melts steel. If jet fuel can melt structural steel that holds up buildings this tall, and that steel is embedded in concrete, then all those kerosene heaters are fire hazards. And we should be hearing every day that somebody's house burned down because of the kerosene heater, but we don't hear any of those stories. The kerosene never melts the steel in the furnace. It never gets hot enough. The government lied to us about 9/11. They carted away all the evidence, which is another crime, and they won't answer any questions today, which I think is another crime. Government has a duty to answer our questions, but like a con man, they just want to move on. Don't get too inquisitive. They call you names. Conspiracy theorist. There are conspiracies everywhere, and there isn't a scientist in the world who would be willing to accept the challenge of melting any amount of steel with kerosene or jet fuel. None. Even if we told them that the steel can be very, very thin, still no takers. Why? Because steel melts at 2,700 degrees and jet fuel burns at 1,500 degrees under optimal conditions, none of which were present on 9/11. We didn't see clear smoke, we saw black smoke, which means not enough oxygen. The optimum conditions were not met. The temperature never reached 1,500 degrees. Most of the fuel burned up outside the buildings in one big burst of yellow flame. Government got away with telling us this lie because people are not educated. Who's in control of our education? Government. Any wonder? Have you ever heard the term dumbed down? Do you think they put rat poison in your water to make you smarter? If there was a pill to make you smarter, to see through government's tricks, they'd kill the inventor of that pill before he can utter the letters CIA. What happened to Building 7, World Trade Center? No plane hit it. How did it just collapse? There isn't a person in government who can explain this to the scientists and the engineers and the controlled demolishers, because those people are smart and the government is stupid to pull off a murder like this and get away with it. In building number 7, did the steel melt without kerosene? How? Architects say it's not possible. Engineers say it's not possible. Those who are in the business of demolishing buildings say it was clearly a controlled demolition on all 3 buildings and not jet fuel. Mechanics Illustrated conspired with the government to pull off this lie, and I have boycotted that magazine ever since. I will never read Mechanics Illustrated again. I'm angry with this magazine for helping our government murder 30,000 people, innocent people. The government underreported the number of deaths also. The aliens said there were 30,000 who were killed on that day, not 2,801. I think I've read that on the Nancy Lieder webpage, and the Zetas reported that, and they are responsible for thousands of correct predictions. Nancy Lieder's webpage is zetatalk.com. So back to the psychic and the egotistical debunkers who want to rob you of the truth by introducing facts which may not be facts at all, and they want to claim that since the CD didn't come out until 1982 or 1981, that the words spoken here should be dismissed completely, but I don't agree. Now, why is this important? Because the speaker makes a prediction about 2012, and it's frightening. He says that we will encounter aliens, there will be winners and losers, and we will be the losers. So if you allow someone to rob you of the truth, then you might not have access to the words of the psychic, who just might be telling us what will happen this year. If you don't survive to see the year 2013, then you don't need any skills in critical thinking. Just enjoy your last days and spend time with loved ones as much as you can. If I'm going to die, I would like to know. If mankind is going to be wiped out, I'd like to know also. It's kind of important to me. It's so important, in fact, that I don't want anyone to get away with robbing you of this fact. You have a right to know the truth, if you care to know the truth. If someone makes some kind of comment about a video being fake and they have no real proof of it and no skills to discern a fake from a genuine film, and they conclude that it's a fake and deny viewers the access to this information, and the viewers are unprepared to know the truth from lies, then someone should help the viewers with their discretion, and that's where I come in. I'm saying be careful when you evaluate something like this. There are those who like to debunk things. Don't trust them. Use your own skills first. Suppose you consider the 1981 claim about CDs. Look up compact disc in Wikipedia and you find a 1982 date instead. Is this a reliable fact? There are 33 million web pages with the term compact disc. Have we collected enough facts to know the truth? Was that a CD case on the stack behind the speaker? Should we throw out what the psychic says just because of the discrepancy of the year that the CDs came out? What if the video was actually made in 1982? Is there a problem? Chernobyl has a date of 1986. Is this man a psychic on the video or not? He's still 4 years early. He still says that America will elect a black man for president between 2005 and 2012. Did this happen? Yes or no? Now, if he has news about 2012, do you want to hear it? Is there any harm in hearing his words? If you want to dispute every detail, you could dispute his claim that a black man is elected president. We never elected a black man, but the public thinks we did. Obama is half Irish. Does that make him black? No. The other half is mostly Arab. Does that make him black? No. He married a woman of African heritage. Does that make him black? No, no, no. How much African blood does Obama have? Less than 1/8. He has more Irish than Arab and more Arab than African. So let's be realistic. He's more than 90% white, as we call it. I don't buy into the white and black terms because nobody's white. We're brown, and nobody's black. They are also brown. But the psychic says Obama's a black president. Okay. In 1980 or 82, this would have been a bold prediction, and he made it clear that we would have a black president between 2005 and 2012. He said that America would be bombed on American soil in the decade following the year 2000. The attack would be about oil. He forgot to say that it would be our own government who did the inside job, false flag, terrorist attack, so we have an excuse to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. He said the second reason was religious. The government told us that was the first reason, even though they couldn't produce a single Arab name on any of the passenger lists of those 4 planes. He said Americans would have a popular revolution that would move toward changes. He said by 2000 to 2005 we'll be driving electric cars, not the mainstream, but electric cars will be in the population of cars. He said that magnetic cars will replace flying cars. He said the Soviet bloc will break up over the next 10 years, and he was certain that it would be gone, and the countries in it would be our allies. He said we will encounter aliens in the year 2012. This would be the year of the encounter. They would be far advanced of us. There would be winners and losers, and we would be the losers. He said mankind will vanish then, and he was so disturbed by this that he stood up and said, okay, that's enough. We are done here. If the prediction turns out to be true, what do you want to do? Disregard what the psychic says because someone debunked him based on the release of the first CDs in 1982? I've been a couple of years off in recalling the past of just 5 years ago. I was off by 2 years. I wasn't lying, I was mistaken. This psychic is certain about the disasters and the other predictions he made, and he's certain that we will meet aliens and that we will be the losers. If our society is wiped out this year, do you want to know in advance? Thanks for listening. French psychic predicts the end of the world this year, 2012. Several times in a recording made sometime between 1980 and 1982 perhaps, a French psychic told us the future, and it seems he was correct on most of his predictions. Most psychics are wrong more than they are right, some only slightly better than chance. I have captured each word that was translated, and I'm going to play them for you while I tell you some things about this man. I would like to draw your attention to a video made by someone who asked the French-speaking Californian psychic to give a reading. One might presume that the filmmaker bought some time and the psychic spoke about the future for a period of time because at the end he stands up abruptly and calls an end to the session. The first time I saw it, I thought he was disturbed by the visions he was getting of aliens destroying mankind in the year 2012. Lacerda warned us of a coming war between us and the hostile aliens and said it's the same group that our government made the deals with. If Lacerda is right, and if this French psychic is right, then the advanced species might do away with us like a colony of fire ants near their picnic table. Nobody in the universe will miss us because our leaders are warmongers, and they defy all warnings about using nuclear weapons. It seems that someone has an agenda to wipe us out. It seems that World War III is building to flashpoint with Iran. And if outsiders are in control of all of our media and using mind control, even hypnosis, as Andy Perro reports, then World War III is a given, and the destruction of mankind is quite likely. Watch this series of cards to show the translations, and at the end, click on the link to see the actual footage of this video. And don't let anyone take the truth from you. Decide for yourself what is true. I'm going to discuss that here. If the filmmaker put 1980 on the video in error, forgive him. He could be off by a year or even 2, but so what? That's not what's important here. We don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The psychic said he lived in France 20 years before coming to California, and he was known to locals in France as the psychic. He used to tell them of future events, but one day he told them about an event, and it happened, and as a result he had to leave the country. He did not tell us any more, and some are claiming that an arrest was made later. Was he arrested because he predicted a murder? Nobody that I know has done the research and come back with anything on that. But it seems plausible to me that this would be one reason why he left France. Should we speculate? Let's look at the facts. Some point to his finger as it appears in 2 images. It looks like the finger was cut off and sewn back on, to me, and they use this as proof that it's the same person. His name is not on the video, but I attached the name Albert Florenti. I don't know his real name. There are 2 other names associated with him. Rather than confuse you, I'm just going to use Albert Florenti. I'll give you the link at the end of this video, but first let me tell you some things about this amazing film. Since the compact disc first came out in October of 1982, and since there appears to be a CD in the background, one might argue that this video was recorded after 1982, assuming that the CD proves that the video could not possibly have been made in 1980 as alleged. The year is not too important.